your audience will always tell. They can always tell when something is bothering you. And that's because they spend literally the entire time on your channel looking at your face. So when you're looking at your actual numbers in real time, and let's say like you got super excited about a game you thought was going to do well, and you realize maybe you're only getting 10% of what you would normally get watching your stream, right? And your mood, your entire energy just changes in like 100%. And then your chat reacts to that, and then all of a sudden you're down.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Stream Key Podcast, our weekly show here at TRUgaming, where we teach you how to level up your stream and just talk about Twitch news and hot topics. This week, I'm really excited to have, for the first time on the show, Arctics TV on the show. Arctics TV, right? Did I get that right? Just Arctic. Okay. Was that your Twitter's Arctics TV? Isn't that right? Okay. I'm not crazy. Arctics, welcome to the show, man. How you doing today? Good, man. Thanks for coming on. We're going to have some time to kind of meet you in a second here, since you haven't been on before, but we'll just kind of go through the panel, meet everybody again really quick. MPI, Mr. Pure Instinct, is back on the show as well, who is now also the host of True Talk, so that's pretty cool. MPI, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Good. Glad to be back. It's exciting.
Yeah, excited to have you on, man.
Like the show.
Always fun to be on. You've been on a couple times
fun.
now. Like,
I think this is third or fourth, one of the two.
Yeah, getting up. I'm losing track of everybody now because we have a lot of repeat guests. So
yeah.
Speaking of repeat guests, Veli's here as well. Velok, how you doing today, man?
Always good, my dude. How are you? Good.
It's Friday. Very excited. And North America made it to finals in League of Legends. Okay. Had to mention that there too. So if you guys haven't seen this show before, the way this works is it's a call-in show. So you can call into the show and come on and talk about any stream-related topics you have. Maybe you have something you're struggling with on your channel in terms of growing viewers, building a community, schedule stuff, whatever. Or you can talk about hot topics related to things that you see happening on Twitch. Maybe you've seen a lot of hype for like the old school classic World of Warcraft or something you want to talk about. You can do that. Also, you can also ask questions in chat. If you can't get to a call, that's totally fine. We're going to start with some news. And actually, before we even hit the news, I want to meet Arctics a little bit because he's not been on the show before. And I want to kind of get to know Arctics a little bit. So can you just tell us about yourself a little bit?
Yeah. Obviously, Arctics, I've been live streaming now for about 12 years. This November 23rd will be my 10th year on Twitch. It was Justin TV when I joined, and the live stream when God, man, this is going way back. I used to stream before Justin TV. It was Ustream and Xfire, and wow. Around that time, like even when you were doing basic streams, it was just a webcam that would like refresh an image every 7 or 8 seconds, like just a singular image. It wasn't like a live video, but it was a live feed. So what I would do back then is I would do a lot of like custom PC builds and try to like get people involved with like the whole PC gaming, because I'm from that, I'm not as young as most of the folks that are on here, but I'm not terribly old. But yeah, I came from the time when LAN parties were cool and like
still cool.
That's they're still cool. Well, but they're a different thing now. Yeah. Like now, you have esports. Back then, MOBA was a Warcraft 3 mod. So just a different age altogether. But I've always seen like the potential of streaming because I've always been heavily involved with a lot of MMOs, and one of the most trendy things to do with MMOs back then is like if you're doing like a PvP video or something, you would upload that to like an FTP and then share it in a forum, right? Because there's no YouTube back then. And so when Google Video came out before YouTube, people would start uploading it on there. And I would see like you could start building traction, building a community, and it just kind of took off since then. And I've been around Twitch ever since. Finally put enough effort and enough continuity into it to get partnered about a year and change ago after being here for so long. But I've built about 23 different channels close to partnership. I've created some major content that happens annually at TwitchCon, and really into like. Nowadays, I guess you would categorize it under stream coaching, but essentially that's what I would do. It was helping people, come up with a brand that reflects what they do, how to introduce it to the Twitch culture, how to react, how to read, the metrics on there, how important numbers are, but not the numbers you think, not viewer numbers, but like demographics, like age group, where your views are coming from, how well your off-platform marketing is, like little stuff that people wouldn't think about. And I've really put an emphasis on how to apply that. So, what I had been doing for the majority of my time on the platform is really helping everyone else out except for myself. But since Twitch has become mainstream, it's infinitely more important to get yourself to a certain level, because now that it's mainstream, if you don't have enough clout, you're not taken seriously, right?
Right.
So I had to do that. So I got partnered, and unfortunately, recently have not been streaming. I was in a pretty bad car accident. So
Mm.
it's interesting being forced to take a seat back, look at everything, and then just kind of find a way to get back into it. It provides a pretty unique perspective. But I've been around long enough, seen enough trends to really get a good grip on how things are, and that's how I met all of you. I came across randomly the podcast, and really felt like I could offer some input, and it was well received. It was well put together, well produced. Everybody was great. After the first podcast, I didn't even know Velok, and I hung out in his channel for a little while. Super nice guy, but like, it was refreshing to see what originally drew me to the platform happen again in a smaller, atmosphere.
Right.
And I think as that organically continues to build, I think it'll start gaining more and more traction. So that's really why I kind of inserted myself over here, because I was like, hey, this is happening again. And it's just like with anything that's trendy, right? It gets good, gains traction, gets popular, gets super mega popular, bursts, all kinds of problems, has to reorganize itself, pulls itself back together. And then you could find the organic things that made you go to this thing to begin with. And so,
Mhm.
like, it's a cycle that perpetuates all the time. But it's nice to see, more and more folks like that are in here that are active doing that.
Right.
But yeah, man, I love it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the kind words in the show. And
Sure.
dang, 10 years, I think that's probably the most historic guest we've had in the show so far of anybody who's been on. That's pretty cool, man. Do you want to quickly talk about just sort of quickly how you got partnered for people who are curious how that went?
Yeah, sure. So it's interesting. I'm a big proponent of variety broadcasting. A lot of times, especially today, variety streamers aren't looked at like with the best of light, right? Because again, Twitch is so mainstream now that the niches that Twitch have are more popular than the generic categories, which is why Twitch is literally pushing multi-categories down your throat, because they don't want to just have like a Fortnite group or just have like a League of Legends group. They want to have like an all-inclusive platform. And doing things at a variety level and really being able to commit to that and building a team to support a stream like that is not the easiest. So effectively what I did is I having been involved with the MMO market for so long, and putting together some historic videos that we might go into later. I don't want to lead off with that one because it leaves a bad taste in some people's mouth. But it was a famous World of Warcraft video we don't talk about. So seeing that, and right now, for anybody who's big into MMOs, there's a pretty well-known drought of MMOs that are out there. So I was like, all right, if something new comes along, I'm going to hop in and I'm just going to go deep and really promote it and get involved. And that's what I did, about a little over a year ago now. And unfortunately, the MMO was terrible, right? And the company behind it was just a complete sham. But I didn't know any of that, right? So I helped them promote a game called Bless Online. And it was a Korean developer. They paid for me to fly out to San Francisco, and I'm in Florida, so that's all the way over there. I got to go to Twitch HQ. I got to go to the hotel that they rented and really get involved with the developers at a level that I'd previously known, but I'd never actually gotten my hands on from their perspective. And so, like, being one of the people that would promote that, like, all of a sudden I went from streaming to about 40 to 60 viewers. I would turn on my stream and I got 800 viewers, like, just trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And then I think I peaked at like 1.8 thousand on one stream that wasn't even at the conference. At the conference, I was at the 6K number. It was like insane. So I noticed that there was a market for that, and I promoted it accordingly. And I stuck partnership well with like different developers and whatnot. And because of that, I've actually been approached by quite a few different companies to help develop and market their products, because, which is something else we could talk about at a later topic. But what you're seeing now is more and more influencer managers or influencer relations, basically Twitch streamers, growing past their stream into like a steady career with a certain developer as a community manager and whatnot. So I got to see how all of that worked and all of the other side of what I did work, so it was interesting. So basically, I put together a podcast for that MMO. I helped them launch the MMO. And I guess one of the things that helped get traction for that is that because I have been doing this for so long, I learned how to accurately and politically correctly, I guess, deal with constructive criticism for the game, because I told you, like, it's awful. And by doing that, a lot of news articles would pick up the stream and they'd post a stream on there like, oh, the game is getting backlash for this and backlash for that. And I was getting all kinds of people just generally going here for information and then staying because of the community, which is the old adage. It's not like that so much anymore, but it used to be on Twitch, come for the game, right? Stay for the streamer and community. That used to be how it is. And that's, I think, what people are trying to get back to. But again, when you have people that are driving the platform that are stuck in a specific genre or a specific game, and while they do bring in some ridiculous numbers, the authenticity or the meat and potatoes of their community is almost non-existent. Like there's no interaction within each other there. They're just there for the live stream. Live stream goes off, they're gone. Or they're in another streamer that streams the same genre. So you see a lot of that happen too. But that's how I got partnered. And then, I had the opportunity before. Like I've never been faced in a situation where I couldn't do anything because I wasn't partnered. A lot of people these days, because they're starting to blur the lines quite a bit between partner and affiliate, but there wasn't even an affiliate program, like that wasn't a thing. Back then, the statistics, you had to have like 250 concurrent viewers and like 10,000 followers, something completely insane. But if you knew somebody, you could get in. You know what I mean? So like, it's not so much like that now. And I think the achievement system's good to help, warrant some kind of progress. But there's some pretty fundamental flaws in terms of partnership. And I think that's what initially attracted me to the podcast, is because I saw so many really good, not to talk about you guys right in front of you, but like good streamers coming up, right? Like I was impressed. Like there's some like really ingenuity here, and it was important to me to see that coming back on the platform. And I just wanted to add my 2 cents. And again, being here so long and participating at the level that I did, from creating streams, looking at personalities, trying to find ways, like failing a whole bunch of times and then learning what actually works and how to apply it to the right person, and dealing with drama. Like you learn quite a bit about how the platform actually is. And it's not a lot of stuff that is taught, or it can be taught, but like it's not something that you'd ever know initially going into Twitch, because streaming is a whole different beast. Like I wish it was a little bit clearer on when you tell somebody like that wants to become a streamer just how much time is actually involved. It's not as simple as turning on your camera, streaming the game, and then leaving. Like that's literally the minority of your time. There's so much more, much more.
Absolutely.
But
man, so there's a lot there to unpack, and we'll probably go through. I wrote down a couple topics to come back to if we have time. But no, seriously. It's really cool to hear about the story. I think you have a very unique story in terms of working so closely with a developer and getting that big spike. So that's really cool to go into later if we have time. But I'm sure people are just curious how that came about. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to go through some of the news topics before we jump into questions. But if you guys have questions, now's a good time to start asking them. You can go ahead and ask those in the chat. Okay, first thing, there wasn't a whole lot of like Twitch-specific stories today, but there was one big story I saw that came up on a Twitter discussion, and that was with Dr. Lupo, who posted a Twitter thread about how numbers on stream have been impacting him a lot, and just part of the process. I will post that link in chat if you guys want to go check it out. And I'm going to go through and read off kind of like some of the highlights of what he said, so we can think through that. So he said, I place too much self-worth in numbers and statistics, view count, sub count, charity donation totals. My brain thrives on these being high, and when they are low, I go into a self-destructive mindset. The worst part is that I know that I'm doing it, but I can't figure out how to stop it. I've tried hiding the numbers, but social media reminds me consistently of it. I can tell when this has an effect on the quality of the channel, which then adds to the vicious cycle. And there's more he goes into, but that's sort of like a nice snippet of what he was talking about. And I'm sure you guys, you've all been streaming for some time now on Twitch. Arctic's 10 years, Velok for a couple of years, MPI as well. Do you guys ever feel this struggle as a Twitch streamer, just dealing with numbers and kind of the pressure it puts on you? And it's really both ways, right? It can make you feel really good about yourself if it's up. And then on the flip side, if it's down, it's easy to kind of fall into the feeling of you're kind of failing or falling behind or something. I'll start with Veli on this one.
Yeah, so I streamed for the first 3 years up until basically over a week ago. I streamed having like my view number up and visible to me the entire time I was streaming. Just because I wanted to get used to that, because I always heard that like people seeing their numbers dropping, affected them on stream, and I wanted to, I wanted to use it as like an instant feedback. Like, if the stream is going well, then the numbers should be up, and if the stream isn't going well, you'll notice that you're losing some of your viewers. And I wanted to know that, but it's so hard to pick it back up when you know that it's not going well. So literally, like just over a week ago, I started hiding that view count there, and I've definitely noticed an increase in my numbers pretty much consistently, aside from like the streams where I've had technical difficulties, but you can't really avoid that. But yeah, I hide my numbers now, and like it's good to check it out after the stream, just to see how you did. But during the stream, it's worthless to you. It shouldn't be something that you worry about, because you're just there trying to make content. You shouldn't be worried about how many people you're making content for.
Right. It's a double-edged sword, because like, yeah, it can make you feel better, but the risk of it killing your mood in some sense is sort of hard to make worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I did it for 3 years and it still affected me. You know what I mean? It doesn't really get to the point where it just doesn't 100% affect you at all. Even the slightest thing can affect you, and if you're having a bad day that day, then it's multiplied by however much.
Yeah, absolutely. MPI, do you have thoughts on the struggle of dealing with these numbers and the impact on your mentality?
Yeah, I mean, I think that every streamer is going to deal with it. I mean, we're looking at a tweet from Dr. Lupo, one of the biggest streamers out there, as well as Pokimane was in there.
There's a lot of people. DJ
a few other people were in there even saying, hey, man, it's cool. I go through it too. It happens. And I think whenever you stream, if you're passionate about it and you're doing it as more of a career, or even as just more than a once a week thing just because you're bored, no matter what, those numbers up or down are going to affect you. Because you care about it. You want people to watch your content because what you're making is important to you, so you want other people to also be involved in it.
Right, absolutely. And over time you realize that, especially that viewer count and sub count, those are such important metrics. And so you tend to put a lot of weight on those, and it's easy to get wrapped up in them. Arctics, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, it's there's different ways to look at it. I mean, for somebody like Dr. Lupo, who's now considered like in the top, 1% of Twitch, right? Numbers are, I don't think he's talking specifically about view numbers, right? Because at that level, sure, your active viewership is, it's hard to explain because it doesn't make sense to anybody that's on the other half of, the other 3/4 of Twitch, if not more. But at that point, it's not so much how many people are actively watching you at a certain point in time. In fact, ironically, and I wouldn't usually use this as an example, but Ninja had mentioned it one time, and I think the one time that he did was probably one of the only times within recent months that he's been 1000% genuine with his camera, right? And what he was basically saying is that, because a lot of people were looking for the next Ninja, a lot of people are intentionally not subscribing to his channel. And that subscriber number, that sub count itself is something that they use socially within the top 1% Twitch culture to kind of guide each other and judge each other, like where they're at, right? So like, he could be out there with 60,000 people watching him, but have, less, be number 7 or 8 in terms of top sub count. And that's the metric that they use. So a lot of the times when you're streaming, like at that level, I understand what he's talking about. But, something I want to, chime into something that Velok said is the numbers, right? So like there's something that a lot of people don't really talk about too often, and it's that if you're gonna stream, right, and this has to do with it, so just bear with me a sec. If you're gonna stream, right, and let's say you're having a bad day, or like, something just awful happened to you that day, and you just want to power through it through streaming, right? Your audience will always tell. They can always tell when something is bothering you. And that's because they spend literally the entire time on your channel looking at your face, right? They're looking at you. They can tell. They can read you like a book, right? Kind of like, when like something bad happens and you have a pet and you can tell the pet knows. You're like, how do you know? Like, right? Your chat is the same way. Like they know, right? So when you're looking at your actual numbers in real time, and let's say like you got super excited about a game you thought was going to do well, and you realize maybe you're only getting 10% of what you would normally get watching your stream, right? It's like taking the gas out of you entirely, right? You're just kind of like, ugh, what do I do? Like, how do I get this back up in real time? And your mood, your entire energy just changes in like 100%. And then your chat reacts to that. And then all of a sudden you downfall. At that point, it's better to just end the stream, start again, something new. And you're seeing that more and more frequently. If you look at any of these top streamers' Twitters, these are people who are experiencing it already, right? So they know when they're in that mood, they're like, hey, sorry I ended early. I just wasn't feeling it, right? But to an affiliate or somebody who's just up and coming, they have no idea. They have no concept of that idea at all, right? If they're like, oh, no, you have to go in, you have to stream, you have to be in here the whole time, like continuity, yeah, but that's something that you learn of. So like the numbers are extremely important, but anybody who tells you, and this is I have another topic that's related to this, but it's important because what you're seeing now that Twitch is mainstream is that everybody's a stream coach, right? So like everybody's giving advice that are just the most ridiculous, rudimentary crap that's out there. Like, hey, make sure your stream is on. Like this shit like that. Like, it's like, come on, man. So like people are saying, don't let the numbers bother you. You shouldn't ever worry about the numbers. And that's the most ridiculous thing ever, because if you're doing something that's inherently not generating a positive response, you should probably not do that, right? But how are you ever going to know if you're not going to look at the numbers? You know what I mean? So you have to be realistic too. So I understand what he's saying, and it does impact just about any streamer at any level. But what's important is to be able to identify what the problem is, learn from it, and then move on and apply yourself in a better way. Mm-hmm. And there are platforms, there are actual websites and all kinds of different tools that are available out there. Some cost money. Majority of them are free, but that will help you understand that. And what's important is not to just be dissuaded by your concurrent viewership or your immediate active viewership, but rather the viewership of what you're doing, the view times that you're playing, the game that you're playing, the age group, and where that stream's coming from. Those are the numbers that matter, because those will help cultivate whatever it is you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. And then if you can expand on that, then you're doing great.
Right. Like the numbers, definitely, you can't avoid the numbers altogether if you want to continue to improve your channel, because you have to see what's working and what's not working. But it doesn't mean you have to do it in real time as you're streaming and let that impact your mood. A lot of times, a lot of these services do like the post-stream viewership graphs now, which are really nice. So you can look at kind of over the course of your stream how your viewership was like, and that's better because it's not during your stream. So you're not going to see that dip and then get discouraged and then have more of a dip and then just a vicious cycle. So
for sure.
Yeah, but I think it's just an important topic to talk about because it's kind of related to mental health, especially as a streamer. If you guys can read through that thread, again, it's posted in Discord, and I'll post it in the chat one more time there. Good thread with a lot of responses from other big streamers. I saw even like DJ Wheat was on there, Summit1G. Everybody did a lot to say about that. So
mental health is like something that's been taking kind of the centerfold for streaming lately. And in the past, not to change it to a somber thing or interject here, but there has been a recent insurgence of folks that are contemplating, not being here anymore. And a lot of that has to do with the amount of stress that is not addressed on the being in the focal point of social media on Twitch, and how to handle Twitch culture appropriately, and people that may talk to everybody every day but not understand that there are so many people that also deal with the same similar feelings and same amount of stress. And it's very, very stressful, especially the more success you get. You would think that you'd be more acclimated at it, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Like, everything hinges on what you do, right? So what you're seeing now, again, because of the recent surge of Twitch becoming mainstream, is that you're getting a lot of folks that just don't feel like they matter. And ironically, I have a kind of an example to post. Like literally last night before I went to bed, I was just scrolling down Twitter, and I don't remember the name of the streamer, but there was a girl who I believe she was partnered, literally pleading out in tears on a Twitter video, basically saying, I don't know what to do anymore. Like, I feel like I can't do anything. I've tried everything. Like, I feel awful. I'm trying to change my stream. I can't break through this barrier. I feel like my life is gone. And there was quite a bit of people that saw that because of the retweets that were responding, oh, I feel the same way. And so, like, not a lot of people talk about it, but you're seeing it more and more because of the divide is getting bigger, right? Because there's a spotlight on Twitch thanks to Fortnite. So I think learning how to deal with that, and I think people seeing that other people, especially in the top 1%, are also dealing with that, is infinitely more important. And I commend Dr. Lupo. He's always been a very transparent, like straight up guy, but it was nice to see that that he felt that way, and so many other streamers were passing in their advice based off of what he was saying. But just about anybody deals with it, and it's important that if you deal with it, to don't be afraid to speak up. Nobody's going to look at you negatively for doing that. In fact, you'll have a stronger connection with folks because they'll know that you're human.
Right, yeah. And like you said, it's nice to have someone close to the top of the platform as kind of setting an example for other people. Realize that, yeah, this happens. It's not just you. It's everyone on the platform, and it's not easy to deal with. But talking about it definitely helps get through that. So very cool to see. I think that was probably the biggest story from this week. We had a couple other small things that came out. You guys can talk about this stuff if you want to, but I don't have much to say about it. First of all, Twitch Prime has 2 perks this month. You get a Crunchyroll subscription, and you get a subscription to RuneScape/Old School. I won't be using any of that, but maybe you guys will. iOS Twitch users can now share their sub-anniversary messages in chat. That's a nice little feature. I guess you couldn't do that in iOS before, and now you can. So always good. And lastly, Mixer is testing out Embers on non-partnered streamers. So I think right now it's limited to just partners, and maybe even not all partners, but they're kind of expanding that. So again, we always like to see more competition coming out from other platforms. That's always going to be a good impact on Twitch. So happy to see that. You guys have any thoughts on any of that stuff before we move on? No. We don't have not a whole lot of big news.
What was that second one you mentioned?
iOS Twitch users can now share their sub-anniversary messages in chat. So it's a nice little feature. It might make people want to sub a little bit more.
The Twitch Prime thing, that's what I wanted to... The only the tidbit about that is that the Crunchyroll thing is the first time Twitch has gone outside of its sphere. So that's interesting to see. They're looking for more and more Twitch Prime stuff.
Yeah, there's a pretty big overlap. I feel like I've seen Crunchyroll ads on Twitch before.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's just like, Twitch advertising on Facebook. It's becoming more and more rampant.
Yes, that's what we talked about last week, and that was really exciting. I still see lots of ads for that, so that's good. Still going.
Yeah, specifically Twitch Prime.
Yeah, I've seen that, and just like general Twitch video ads, mostly.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so with that, we are done the news for this week. If you guys have a question or would like to call in, now is a great time to do so. You can just join the StreamKey server and join the calls. I just posted it in the chat there if you want to hop in. If you can't get to a phone or a computer or some way to call in via Discord, you can always just ask your questions in the Twitch chat or Discord chat. Just tag @TRUgaming so you see your question, and then we'll go around the panel and discuss that. It could be, again, a streaming-related question for something that is for your stream, or just a general take on something we already talked about, or something that you've seen on Twitch. We have a couple questions from offline that I want to go through before we do that, so go ahead and ask your questions, guys. The first one comes from Steamer, who always has good questions. He said, based on how you host / who you host, can a streamer employ any strategies which would improve his or her chances of getting hosted? It's kind of interesting. So it's almost like you're strategically choosing who to host so that you can get a host back. Belloc, what do you think of this idea?
I don't think it's a good mentality to have towards anything, really. You shouldn't be looking for anything in return. What you should be focusing on is trying to make some friends And if they want to host you, then by all means. And if they don't want to, then just keep doing your grind. Expecting something like trying to make a move just out of getting something in return, or just to get something in return, might work sometimes, but most of the time it's not going to work. And you're gonna tire yourself out trying to do that, and it's not really the most genuine approach to it. So I would say just make friends, and just keep collaborating with those friends as much as you can. And if not, just keep hanging out with the streamers that you enjoy watching, whether they give you something in return or not. Because really, you shouldn't one of the best things I can say is don't ever look for anything in return, but be willing to give out everything. You know what I mean? It sounds really weird and it sounds really exhausting to do it that way, but you'll make a lot of friends by doing that, by just being a person who's willing to help other people grow, and that's it. You know what I mean?
Right. And if you're a streamer with some experience, you can generally kind of fish out when people are looking for that. If they're kind of sneaky about how they do things, you can tell when someone's not really interested. They're just kind of fishing for a host or something.
Yeah.
Arctics, what do you think about this one?
So this kind of goes in tandem with is it okay to host or unhost as part of networking for the best interests of your channel? One of the things I found very interesting managing quite a bit of streams is that a lot of the times I'm very proud of the Twitch culture. It's really a passion of mine, which is why I've got so much time into it, right? So one of the things I've always wanted to do is, and I have done, is build a community within a community, right? But around streaming, not just people that have similar interests, right? So what we would do is I would take some of the larger channels that I would manage, and I would wait for some of the more regulars that would be in that stream that would go live and start streaming themselves, and we would intentionally host them, right? And we would do so to try and boost their numbers, right? To help them out so that they knew we cared about them and wanted to not really boost them, but give them the exposure they wouldn't normally get because they are regulars and they do actively participate in the community. So doing it yourself where you're hosting someone with the intention of trying to get a host back or maybe network. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. I don't think you should ever only use hosting just for that. I think it needs to be more organic and ingenuous, because that's one of the things I had touched on very briefly earlier. Remember, as a streamer, there's so many eyes on you, right? And people can tell when you're being disingenuous, right? So if you're gonna go into a channel like let's say Velok, for example, who I had met that first time that I popped in the podcast, right? If I intentionally went out there that same day, and let's say I was streaming and I just hosted him and then hosted him again, and I waited, and if I didn't get a host back, was upset about that, I didn't do that for the right reason. I should have hosted him because I thought he was a nice dude and wanted to help out, right? It's an organic process. If he appreciated that, if he went and he checked me out and was like, hey, this guy is not too bad. I think we have a lot of similar personality traits. I think our communities would vibe well. Then he can host me. But when you start doing it disingenuous, you run across where your communities may not match. And let's say that you're a stand-up, transparent, awesome dude, and you go host somebody who's a memer, and all of a sudden your entire community just clashes with a bunch of people. I mean, you're shooting yourself in the foot. It should never be with a negative context. But the other side of that sword is it's important for networking, right? So do your homework, and you have to strategically remember you represent your entire brand and your entire community. And Twitch is huge, right? There's all kinds of different people on there. So if you want to go out and network for that purpose, before you host, do your homework, spend some time in their channel, let them get to know you, be available for longer than 2 minutes after a raid, let people see who you are, get a feel for you, and then host them. And what you're going to see by doing it organically like that is that those people will show up in your channel, right? And then their community will, because then they will start to host you. And then their community will get a vibe for you. And maybe if you stream at different times, you'll see some of their people in your channel. And because you're already in there, you'll recognize them. And hey, you're from Velok's channel. How's it going? Good to see you. And then they're like, wow, this is great. I feel like this guy is just like my other place. This is so cool. And then all of a sudden it works out right. But if you do it just with the intent of trying to get a host back, you're going to bomb. You're going to waste your time, and that person's going to enjoy your views. So,
Yeah, it's all about the intention, right? Because you have to make sure that you're not
right.
just doing that to try and get a host back. I mean, like Vel said, it only works if you're not expecting anything in return and just sort of, spreading some positivity or some support of someone else. And then if you get it back, then great. And if you don't, then great. It's kind of the best way to do that. MPI,
Absolutely.
what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I think you guys both, hit the nail on the head. It's going into it expecting I'm going to host this guy and he'll host me back tomorrow because I hosted him today. It's a bad way to look at it. I mean, just like Veli said, go make friends. It's Twitch. This is a fun platform. You're here to enjoy it and build a community. And with the community, like Arctic said, your communities clashing together is going to be bad. I could take my community, who is pretty open about everything. We talk a lot about mental health and things like that, and then shove them into someone's channel who's, making a lot of not so appropriate jokes, maybe, like you said, kind of a big memer, and we might get some good laughs out of it, but that's not going to be somewhere that those people want to stay. So you're going to raid or host, and it's going to go up, and then your community is going to go, this isn't my place, and it's going to go right back down, and then it's going to kind of be like you never hosted that person at all. So going into it expecting that host back is just it's the opposite of what I think you want to do. And I saw it in chat. I think Bubbly said it, that it's kind of similar to follow for follow if you're doing host for host.
Yep.
Sure, you might get a host out of it, but you probably got hosted for one viewer and never gained anything from it just because that person said they would host you back if you hosted them. It's kind of like we're going back to MySpace, pick for pick,
Yep.
comment on my picture, I'll comment on your picture. And the comment was always like, cool. We're not gaining anything here from it.
Right.
Yep. Absolutely. It sounds like we're all in agreement. Don't host with the intention of getting hosted back. If it happens, then cool. But that's just like you guys said, it's the follow for follow, host for host, whatever mindset. That's not going to actually help you with your channel that much. Okay, so we have a caller on deck. That is Belv. I'm going to get ready to add Belv to the show here. See if, accept the friend request, and we'll send the call right now.
Hello.
Ringing. Hello? Belv, you there? Maybe putting on the mic or something. Hello? Belv? Can't hear you if you're talking. I like the icon, though. It looks like McCree, sort of.
So angry.
Hello?
Some stewy eyes. Look at it.
And a gun on the ear, sort of? Interesting.
Yeah, like, what? Strong ear.
All right, Belv. Sounds like maybe having mic issues. All right, Belv, see if you can get those figured out. I'll have you back on the show in a bit here. But for now, we're going to remove you just to keep the show going here. Okay. Hopefully you can get that.
No, he just said in chat that he's having mic issues.
That's fine. You got time, man. We'll be here for a little while. Go ahead and get them fixed, and you can come back on the show. Okay, I saw some questions in the chat, so let me jump into those really quickly. So, Friendly Neighborhood Vlad said, do you guys find it difficult to find a game that gets a lot of good views and also is enjoyable to you? This is like sort of the classic question, right? You have playing a game that's going to get you viewership, playing a game that you're actually going to enjoy. I'll start with Arctic on this one. Have you ever experienced this kind of dilemma?
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, because Twitch has changed so much recently, it's one of those things where trying to find a game that's popular, right? Let's say that there's a big release coming out. Everyone's going to have their eyes on it, and it's not really a genre that you resonate with, right? It goes back to what I was saying earlier, where if you're not organically having a good time, your audience is going to pick up on it. And when they do that, there's no coming back, because like you have to kind of convince them, hey, I'm doing this just for the game, because I'm doing it for the views or whatever. And once you start doing it that way, I mean, that you've lost your authenticity. So it's a very popular thing. What I would say to that in terms of advice is don't ever play a game because you think it's popular, or like you think that it'll just get you views. play a game because you resonate with its genre or you resonate with the game or the franchise itself. Like, play what you enjoy. Don't just play games to play games, because something that's very, very common. There's a really, really important topic that I can touch on that is really good information for a lot of streamers. But um, if you guys are familiar with, like, in acting, what being typecast is, for those of you who don't know what that is, that's where you're so good at a role that you will always be looked at for that role. So, like, if you were good at being Batman, you're only cast for things that are related to Batman. And if you ever wanted to branch out into something like comedy or horror or something like that, you'll never be considered for that because you are Batman, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
so that happens a lot on Twitch. There's a really, really good example of a longtime friend of mine named Eddie Ruckus, right? He's a very popular Minecraft streamer. And Eddie's been around since, the OG days. And he's been partnered for years. And what he found is that after, like, the fourth year of streaming nothing but Minecraft, right? He was really tired of streaming Minecraft. Like, he was like, God, I can't do anything else. If he streamed something else, he would lose like an 85% viewership drop. Like, that's insane, right? Like, nobody would watch his channel by, metric stakes. So what he would do is he got tired of it, and it was causing stress and duress in his life and made it feel like everything he was doing was worthless because he can't just play games on the platform. So what he did is he made a new account and had Twitch rescind his partnership. And he made the second. He didn't take over the first account. The first account stayed there. He made a second account, got permission to do it because this is before Twitch allowed you to have multiple accounts. And he started as a variety streamer and only streamed variety games. And this was whatever he felt like playing, like any genre, as long as it resonated with him. And he built an audience from the ground up again. And then, the small percentage of folks that enjoyed him from Minecraft came over, and he got partnered organically the second time. So he's been partnered twice, right? But this time he can play whatever he wants, and he's able to do that. But, that's what happens if you play something and you're doing it just for the views. Never let your viewership or metrics be sole reason that you're playing that game. Because if you do that, you're being disingenuous to yourself, and your community is going to read you. And then you're basically shooting your channel in the foot.
Right.
You're going to stunt your growth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the single game versus variety thing we talk about that a lot because that is such a tough struggle for a lot of people who feel like they need to stick to one game to grow. And I'm sure, the guy you just talked about probably grew a lot faster streaming just Minecraft, but he still made it happen with variety. So it doesn't mean you can't do it. Right. It just might be harder. So I think that's a good point to mention.
But he's happier, infinitely happier.
Exactly, right? Yeah, and like in the short term, it might have felt like the Minecraft was smarter, but then, turns out down the road, he was not so happy with that. And it really kind of, I'm sure if he looks back at it, was sort of a waste of time because he could have used that time just doing variety and building that even more so. So like it seems like maybe sometimes it's easier to go for that path that's getting you viewers where you're not as happy, but in the long run, it kind of shoots you in the foot, like you said.
Right. There's a stigma that a lot of folks oversee. And a lot of people think that just like the goal is like, I just want to get partnered. I want partnership so bad. Give me that check mark. And I'm going to tell you right now, as somebody who's been in here I've been streaming for over a decade, and I'm here just about a decade, that partnership it's like just the beginning, and it should never be your goal whatsoever, because being partnered doesn't mean anything at all if you have no sustenance to your community, because you'll end up streaming to about 8 people if you're not organic with yourself. And it's a problem like a lot of people have. For example, like I've had to step away because I was in a car accident. This is not something I wanted to do, right? I know that I have a grind ahead of me, right? I know that that's going to happen because I understand Twitch culture. But other folks who don't understand that may be going at it for the wrong reasons. And you don't ever want that check mark to be your sole, purpose, because there are people out there who are partnered that have done things to get partnered, ridden the coattails of a really popular genre or whatever. And they got the check mark. And then there's other variety broadcasters that have incredibly diverse, active, like biospheres of community that are really active offline. And they have different communities, like if it's movie night or I know somebody who has a book club, like if they have that, but they're not partnered, they're inherently a more successful and popular stream that's going to provide more of a revenue stream for the broadcaster themselves, because not only do they have an organic, like I said, like self-existing biosphere of people within their community that they don't have to tend to every day because they're doing it themselves, right? But they also have a consistent amount of support and income because they're the structure of that. So if you just go at it with the intentions of getting partnered, this is why the follow for follow and lurk for lurk, that's why all that stuff is nonsense, because there's zero sustenance there. Nothing at all. And I would argue, like I mentioned at the very beginning, somebody like Ninja, who has a lot of viewership, you think back, if you've ever spent, 5 minutes in the guy's channel, or, if you're one of the few that took it a step further and actually joined his Discord, right? How much sustenance is there, right? How many people are like, oh, yeah, I'm part of the Ninja crew. I don't even know what it's called, and the guy's number one. What is that? You have no idea, because there's almost no sustenance there, right? Sure, he's making all kinds of money, but the second Fortnite fizzles out, right? That's going to be an eye-opener. And even at that point, he's stressed because being number one viewers isn't number one subs, and it's because he's doing it within one specific genre. It's not like Tim, who can stream just about anything. Not like Dr. Lupo, who can stream just about anything, within his number, group. I'll show you, the best example of this is Shroud and Soda Pop. Soda Pop is probably the best one. Soda Pop can stream. He could stream nothing. And he actually did this the other day. He proved the point. He literally put on, the worst YouTube, garbage that's out there, turned off his web camera and went to sleep, and he maintained 40,000 people. Because that's what his community consists of. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, they're just a bunch of, for lack of a better phrase, shit posters, right? But they're there for that reason. They're not there for something singular, right? Shroud is the same way. Even though Shroud is an FPS god, the dude can play ESO and have the same amount of people watch him, right? So they're there for that community. So it's really important to make sure that whatever it is you're playing, reeling back to the subject, whatever it is you're playing, play it because you organically resonate with it. Don't force yourself to something just because it's popular. It's a terrible idea.
Yeah, those are all really good examples. And I do want to talk about kind of partnership as an end game goal later on too, if we have time, because I think it's also a great topic. But I want to run to MPI here. What are your thoughts on this overall topic?
Yeah, I mean, I think Arctic's covered a lot of it, but I think a lot of people, either when they're starting out or if they see a dip in numbers, they'll try to look to specifically the game as what's causing that dip in numbers or their growth in numbers. And some of the times that can be part of it. I did Fallout 4 a long time ago and had a lot of core Fallout people who aren't around anymore because we're not playing Fallout anymore. And that's going to happen with games like that. And I've ran into it recently, actually, playing through Breath of the Wild. I loved the game. I had a blast with it. It was the first Zelda game that I'd ever played, and I needed to jump into the franchise somewhere. Yeah, that's the same reaction I got from everyone, Arctics.
Listen out, man.
But so I had a great time with it, and we saw a pretty big uptick in numbers till the end. When we started getting to the end, and we were just, the whole day was going to a shrine, go to the next shrine, go to the next shrine for 5 hours, it died off a little bit. And I think when you run into that, it's hard to not look at it and go, I don't want to finish this game now just because it's given me low numbers. But you still have people sticking around for either you every day, or that they enjoy watching you play this game for the first time, or want to see you finish the story. So I finished the game, beat Ganon on the first try, and had a blast with it. Didn't have a huge stream that day, but we had fun with it. And that's a hard line to walk, and I know that. But it's something that I think you're always going to run into, and there's nothing wrong with trying to branch out and try a different game. But just like Arctic said, don't try it just because you think it's going to be popular. If you hate Call of Duty, but the new Call of Duty comes out and it's a big title, don't play it just because you think people are going to come watch it. Because 1 million people are going to play that game, so it's not likely that you're going to see the biggest uptick in it. 2, you're probably going to be miserable the entire stream, and that's, again, going to translate to you look miserable, you're not having fun, nobody wants to watch that. What's the point? So I don't think there's anything wrong with trying new games, branch out, but don't reach out to a game just because you think it's going to drive numbers if you would never be interested in it at all.
Yeah, that's
and
really
I don't
good.
think there's anything wrong either with looking at a game that you're interested in but has next to no viewership on Twitch and saying, maybe I'll just play this in my free time for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you try to play it and you don't get anyone coming out to the stream, you're going to get disheartened because no one's at the stream, and then that could reflect poorly on that game in your eyes, even though it's something you could have loved.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Is if you play a game that you think is going to get you viewers, and that's sort of like the majority of why you're playing it, and then you don't get viewers, then you're like, why am I playing this game? You know, it's like, what am I doing with my life? I'm doing something that has no point.
Or if you pick one up just because you were going to play the game anyway, and you're like, well, I need something to play on stream. I'll play it on stream, even though I know no one is going to watch it. Well, why are you doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Because,
yeah,
you enjoy the game, but you're going to get a little disheartened by seeing, well, even some of my core people that are usually here aren't even here because they just don't care about this game.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing... I think a lot of people run into, I stream on Twitch, I play video games on Twitch. I have to stream every single game I play, which is not the case.
I want to talk about that later
you
too.
Enjoy, just take a break.
Right, like choosing to play games off stream, because that's a topic that I feel like, especially when you're in sort of the beginning of Twitch streaming, you just feel like you should spend every time you're playing gaming streaming. And then at some point you realize that I don't have to stream every game I play. So we'll talk about that later if we have time. We have a lot of chat questions, so I want to jump through some more of these really quickly here. Thanks for that question, by the way, Vlad. That was great rabbit trail of discussion there. Next one is from Heedhum. Says, can you ask Arctix, the stream OG, what made him stick in this media so long, and where does he see it going? Is streaming the new fad that will fade, or are we here to last? Interesting. So, Arctix, what are your thoughts on streaming overall?
The stream OG. Like that. Pretty good.
New name.
It's right. I think it's for sure something that's gonna last for a while. Like one of the reasons that I've stuck with it is because I saw the trend. And if you ever want something to reflect on to kind of like back up why you're so passionate, or like, why am I doing this? Just look at any of these like short mediums and what's actually happened and how fast it's happened with them. We can start with Vine. Look what happened with Vine, right? Look at all the people in Vine. Look at all the people that did TikTok, right? Look at all the people on YouTube. Like it's something that that's growing at a perpetual level. And Twitch being kind of one of the primary platforms to really push down chat integration in real time. I think it's offering such a level of communication with that content that you just can't get anywhere else. And what I've seen is a whole bunch of YouTubers that, for example, who, a lot of folks think, oh, well, YouTubers, they just get to record their content and then put it together. It's real easy for them. It's not easy for them either, because they have to edit everything, and then they have to go back and they have to look at the comments and then try to respond to the comments. And now YouTube wants them to be liable for the comments.
Oh my gosh.
And they have to deal like it's a nightmare, complete nightmare. Right. They hop on over to Twitch, and then they're like, okay, let's try and get successful here on Twitch. And they're like, wow, I can respond in real time. Okay, let me do this. Let me explain what's going on here. Let me take this guy's advice, or this girl has a question, and they find that they've got a stronger connection with their community because of that. So I think in terms of longevity, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I think in fact you're going to see it grow more and more and more. Because if you look at it, there's not a whole lot of people been around this long. So like a lot of you folks don't really know, but before Twitch was Twitch, right? It was Justin TV. And Justin TV was notorious for having all kinds of random ass streams, like people streaming football when they shouldn't, like, illegally.
Still happens, by the way.
Oh yeah. Well, now you got that and porn, right? So like all kinds of stuff happened on Justin TV. It was like the Wild West, but you could do whatever you want, right? And I mean, with respect to the, they didn't really enforce a lot of the rules, but basically what you were seeing is a variety of people. Like I streamed building PCs, right? Man versus Game streamed video games with a green screen. It was one of the first people that did it. Swiftor was doing it. Dance Gaming was doing it back then. And then you saw like the rise of people like DJ Wheat who were like commentating on it, trying to provide more of a producer aspect to it. and it started to kind of create its own mold, right? But what's happening today, it's literally circling back, because it used to be on Twitch that you could not do anything that wasn't game eccentric, right? If it had nothing to do with gaming, you risked getting banned, because it's not a game. Like, you can't do that. Like, you're on the wrong platform, right? So like now you're seeing, okay, well, we got IRL streams, we've got art, we have makeup and beauty and this and that, science and technology. You know, that, for example, I have one of the streams. I don't really work with her so much now, but it was a girl who was a geologist, right? And she wanted to start talking a little bit, like her community was named these little quippy names off of geology stuff, and it resonated with her. But she was just playing, typical games for that genre, which is like Dead by Daylight, like a lot of that stuff. But what she wanted to do was start doing some educational stuff, and I was like, that's the future of this platform. Like, I'm telling you right now, that is a huge market that nobody's really tapped into. And I would strongly suggest doing it, like coming up with an outline. If you really want to teach people, go ahead and teach people. Like, use this as a platform to do that. And what you're seeing globally, even outside the platform, and is like there are very, very famous people in the world, like psychologists, for example. Jordan Peterson is a good example, where the guy has seen more success on his YouTube channel than literally being a professor at University of Toronto.
Yep.
Right. So they hate him at that university because of whatever his beliefs are and whatever he preaches, right? That part doesn't matter. The context of that doesn't matter. The fact is that they didn't like that. They thought they could censor him. He's like, all right, I'll go to YouTube. Now he's teaching whatever it is that he's teaching to like 12, 20 million people at a time. And it's like, bruh, like here's the entire population of the region now at my fingertips. Now imagine doing that in a live action platform in real time. And as technology continues to grow, your visual representation will continue to grow as well. So like, the only way is up, and I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon, because more and more tablets are coming out. Screens are getting bendy and foldy. Capture devices are getting holographic. All this kind of stuff is happening.
Phones, man.
All right. So like, it's important to what you're going to see is on those bendy phones. You're going to say, oh, check it out. You can see all your recent like follows and whatnot happening on the little bendy part, like stuff like that is going to happen way more often. And I don't think it's going anywhere. So yeah, I would feel confident investing your time in it, which is why I did it myself.
Right. And you bring up so many good points there. I mean, Twitch especially is pushing everything on the platform now. If you can stream cooking, education, like you said, that's kind of what this podcast came out of. Podcasts in general are on here now. So there's everything, and it's really cool. And you also mentioned a good point too. People, even if you're putting stuff on YouTube, it's still beneficial to stream it. And you'll see a lot of stuff on YouTube now is a lot of live streams repurposed on YouTube, and it's still very popular there. So it makes sense just to kind of double your content if you can. So definitely agree with that.
YouTube was for the longest time, YouTube was considered the place to put clips and highlights. Before clips were a thing, highlights were the thing, right? And you would have to have an editor in your channel, and the bookmark system never worked. Anybody who's been around knows that. All right, so they would like look at the time that something funny happened or something unique happened. They'd go back and they'd clip that. But the reason why Twitch is, more recently been trying to introduce like the reruns and the what's the other thing?
Premieres.
Oh man, yeah, premieres, reruns and premieres. The reason they're trying to do that is because so many people were literally using their YouTube channel just for highlights. That's it. Its singular purpose is highlights. Live stream material is on Twitch. So Twitch was trying to get back into that, but obviously, their methodology is not the greatest, because it doesn't make sense at all to do that. So, that's probably the most effective way to utilize your YouTube channel. But,
right,
you're seeing a lot of third-party people capture your stream and restream it on YouTube, and then they're making a good buck. You're not getting anything. So.
Seen that as well.
That happens too.
Quickly, Vel and MPI, do you guys have any thoughts that we didn't cover on kind of the future of Twitch, or any concerns you guys have about it? Vel, maybe you first.
No, I think you pretty much covered everything. It's quite a different platform than anything else that has kind of gone away. Vine came in really fast and ended even more fast. Whereas Twitch, I think, has a lot more of an established thing going on as far as the people who create content on there or on Twitch are more likely to stay on this platform just because it can eventually lead to some sort of financial gain, as opposed to Vine, which I don't think any of them made any money on Vine.
Brand deals, really, if anything, there.
Right.
Yeah.
But the people who are creating content on this platform are pretty loyal to this platform, and the people who are watching content are loyal to the people who are providing that content.
Yeah, I think the retention rate of Twitch is really, really good for the future, especially compared to some things like Facebook or even Twitter has been kind of dwindling lately. So I don't see as much happening with Twitch. MPI, you have any other thoughts to add here?
Yeah, I think, I mean, you just kind of said it actually, that the retention is a lot higher on Twitch compared to like Facebook or Twitter or even Instagram. And I think the reason being for that is like on Facebook, you scroll past the live stream. So you're going to see it and then you're going to go, okay, cool, next post, and keep going. Where Twitch, you click on the channel, you're not scrolling up and down through other channels in the middle of that channel.
Right.
You're actually watching it. And I think Arctics is exactly right, man. The future of this isn't just games, it's education, it's podcasting and talk shows, it's all kinds of things. I mean, just 2 days ago, I did a video editing stream where I made graphics for someone in my chat's first stream. They were starting out, they needed starting screen and alerts made. I made them and took his feedback live in chat and fixed what he wanted on the stream. I basically, at that point, you can work with clients over this if they're open to being public with that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So I mean, there's so many things you can do with it. It's just going to keep growing, and I think Twitch is going to come up with ideas, but I think streamers are going to come up with ideas faster than Twitch is, and Twitch is going to react and add new categories like that.
Yep, that's the beauty of it. So it's just on Twitch to add and support that stuff, which it seems to be doing a better job of lately instead of suppressing it like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, and I think as long as it's not like a terms of service breaking thing, like, you know, illegally streaming a football game or pornography, things like that, there's not really a reason that Twitch wouldn't want to take on these things now that they're open to moving past gaming, because it's just going to bring in more people to stream, which brings in more viewers, which brings in more revenue for Twitch.
Absolutely.
I think it's safe to say that streamers have a more accurate representation and idea of what Twitch is over Twitch itself. You know, like I don't.
There's a balance there, I think.
Well, about a year or so ago, they had a huge layoff, right? And a lot of the OG people that helped culminate what we're using today, this side of things, the gaming side, they're no longer with the platform anymore. Because of that big layoff thing. And what you're running into is, that's why on the drama side of things, you've got a lot of that double standard, the ads being blasted for other channels. Like it seems like they don't understand why people are upset. And then now they do, because they've been super proactive about handling that. And it's good to see that kind of turn around. Enough people were outraged about it. But, because it happened in the first place, a lot of people are like, hey, what's going on here? Like, do you guys really know what's going on? Because a lot of the streamers do. Right. But it didn't seem like we had the support for that. So I think you're seeing that turn around. And, I do want to just mention real quick. I apologize, Velok and MPI, that if I talk too much, like I have a tendency.
No, it's all good,
that.
man.
No,
I'm not trying to drown you guys out. I swear,
No, I think you got a lot of good stuff to say, which is, it's cool to hear your perspective too.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and
don't forget also on Vine,
directed at you too. So
yeah. But
how dare he talk about his own?
I want to move on
still feel
to the
bad.
next. We could go on this for a long time, but I do want to keep going through some of the questions. So we're going to switch to the next caller, which is Belv. Hopefully he'll have this stuff working this time. And we have another caller waiting. By the way, guys, if you have been asking questions, remember you get priority as a caller to come on the show. So we'll get to your questions. We have time and next week and all that, but we do callers first most of the time. So speaking of, Belv is here. I see his camera. Can we hear him?
Hey.
Oh,
Hey,
we got the
you're here.
camera, we got the voice.
It's all working, man. Welcome.
Man, I apologize. I don't know what happened before.
That's
I
all
think I
good.
had voice meter banana like running before, and I don't know. I uninstalled it and it just like screwed with everything. So I apologize, guys.
It's all good.
My
Your
bad.
accent is awesome, by the way. I don't know what that is.
Oh,
but super cool.
My accent.
Yeah.
You mean your accent? Your accent's also. I've actually been listening to you for like I don't even know how long this podcast has been going, man. Like months and months and months. Like I would like to say a year, but it's not Has it been a year? It's been over
At
a year.
least a
I don't
year
know.
that the show's been going. Probably a couple of years.
I actually
now.
had a thought in my head about what you look like before I actually saw what you look like, Green Cod.
Podcasts.
And you're actually much better looking now that I see you. So just saying.
Thanks.
Velok, by
is
the
my
way,
voice
Velok,
ugly?
by-
Is that what that means?
No, I know. Velok's actually a very attractive man. So
Oh, we all
Oh,
agree on
thank
that.
you.
That's just a fact.
Hey,
Chat. Can we
yeah,
get some
okay.
agrees in the chat?
that's
Big
a
agrees?
fact.
Okay.
That's a fact.
True.
That's a fact.
All right.
I actually had a question. I've been taking down notes in my notepad here. So the main thing for me, like I've kind of been on and off streaming for a bit, and I've kind of hit a slump. So I've been, I suppose, streaming here and there. Like really, hit and miss. So like getting an active community is not been something that I've been able to do. So what do you guys do when you hit a slump where you go like, I really want to do it, but then when like I find that when I want to turn the stream on, I'm like, it really hurts. It's like it's not something that, it's like an effort, but I'd love it, but at the same time, it's like it's an effort. So like I feel like that's a slump. Like, do you guys have anything to like, when you like, I suppose to help you work through that? I suppose.
Mhm. That kind of plateau feeling.
Yeah, for sure. I've hit an affiliate status, but you kind of go, all right. Like
Now what?
partner, like you said, you guys, like I've heard your streams before. You go, partner. You just shouldn't be aiming for partner or whatever it may be. But like that plateau, as you were saying, Green Cord.
Mhm.
What do
Right.
I do from there?
Sure. So MPI, I saw you nodding a bit there. Do you have some thoughts here to kick this off?
Yeah, we actually had a discussion about this yesterday in my stream, so this is pretty good timing. A friend of mine who I recently met actually is a family friend, so we live in the same city, and found out we both stream on Twitch. Was telling me that he just hit affiliate 2 days ago, and he made it after 15 months, which a
Wow.
lot of people say
Wow.
that's a long time. You could have like a lot of people make it before then. A lot of people it takes longer. But the big thing is, for me, I always think about it of, okay, I'm not super feeling it today, but I did it yesterday and I did it the day before that. Why is today different? So I'll still do it. And then there's so many times where I have been like this close, like 5 minutes before my start time, and I'm like this close to just at everyone streams canceled today, shutting off the PC and walking out of the room. And I'll go live, and then I'll have a giant raid from someone come in, or we'll have a huge subscription train, something like that. There's so many times where I haven't wanted to do it that I did it anyway, and something amazing happened. And those are the times where I look back and I'm like, do you remember last time that you didn't want to hit go live and your literal hero on Twitch raided your channel and changed your entire day? That can happen at any moment. And that doesn't mean that you have to be streaming 24/7, but that's kind of one of the things that I use to kind of, kick myself in gear or light a fire under me of that can happen again today if we do it. If we don't hit go live, there's zero chance that it's going to happen. But if we hit go live, there's a small chance that we're going to have the most amazing thing ever happen.
Right. I saw Vel kind of nodding behind his mic over there when you mentioned the big streamer thing.
Yeah.
Vel, what are your thoughts on this?
So I have like it was probably like one of the worst days I've had streaming. Like I didn't want to stream in the first place that day, and I was playing a game. I was playing Dark Souls 3, which is not a game that I normally stream, but I had a lot of fun doing it. But my viewers were so low. I'm like, man, the stream sucks. I'm a terrible streamer right now. Like I almost, dude, I was so down
brutal,
in the
man.
dumps.
That's so brutal.
Dude, I'm so overly critical of myself. It's insane. So I was like going through like this weird mental battle with myself. Like, do I end the stream or what? And Tim the Tatman dropped like 23,000 people on me. So I'm like,
Small amount.
yeah, just a small loan
just
of
cruising by.
23,000
Just
people.
hey, how you doing?
Yeah, right. And like I didn't handle the raid well because I was in a weird funk. But like the fact is, like exactly what MPI said. If you don't stream that day, there's no chance of like something amazing happen. Literally, like he was just saying, some of the best streams that I've had have been on days where I just did not want to. And honestly, you should stream more on the days you don't want to, because it makes the days that you want to stream even better. If you can get through a day of not wanting to stream, then the days of like being like really amped up and ready to go, like those are going to be amazing, like quality streams. You might not get a raid that day, like you might not get,
Right.
a crap ton of followers or subs or anything, but you will put on the best content you can because you've already put on good content on days you didn't want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like your case is a very extreme example because
Yeah,
don't go thinking, well, I know I don't want to stream today, but Tim will raid me if I stream. So yeah, that probably won't happen, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't stream when you don't want to. Arctics, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, it's one of those things like what's causing what's causing the duress, right? Is it because, and I guess I'm specifically asking Bel, like, is it the anxiety that maybe you don't feel like you're growing to a certain point? What is it that you feel a little hesitant about when you go live?
I think it's more around like putting in not so much effort. Like that's the bad way to say it, right? You don't want to want to say, oh, I don't want to put in effort, but it's more
Right,
so.
right.
We know when you play in a game, like we're all gamers here, so when you play in a game and you really love it, and then you go, how does someone perceive me playing this game? Like, is it me being too like I suppose too into this game, or am
Right.
I not being entertaining enough? That I think it's the thought process of, okay, like I'm enjoying this game enough, but am I speaking enough? Am I interacting enough? Am I
Right.
ready to put that amount of effort into the next 3 to 4 hours?
Hmm.
Right. So, I've said this a lot, not specifically in this podcast, but I say it a lot in general. The true secret to Twitch is continuity. And so, if you know that within a set amount of time that you're going to stream, like if you feel committed to this, it's almost like a mental headspace that you have to get into. But, before doing that, I think it's important to understand what's going to be expected of you, right? And the most important thing to do, like I was touching on earlier, is if you're going to play a game that you enjoy, just organically relax and enjoy it. Because I'll tell you what happens. Because if you don't address this early, it's it gets way worse, man. And what I mean by that is that you stop looking at games like, oh, I love that game, I want to play that game, and you never play it because you're like, I can't play this game. I'm here, the game's here, but I can't play it because I'm not live. Right. So you stop looking at games like that. You can't just sit down and enjoy a game because you're like, whoa, I could be doing this for content. So it happens to almost every streamer, right? So it's important that if you're gonna play a game and if it's something that you feel like you enjoy, uh it's hard to tell somebody like, hey, don't worry about the community, don't worry about chat, because you do to a certain degree have to force yourself to kind of pay attention to them, but only do it if you feel comfortable enough to doing it. So if you feel like you don't have um if you don't have the ambition to enjoy the game that you're gonna play, remember, don't stream, right? Don't do it, because people read that off of you, and then they're not going to get an accurate representation of who you are, right? They're not going to see that you're enjoying it because you're not. You're forcing yourself to be there. Continuity is important, but so is being genuine with yourself more than your audience, because again, this is like forcing yourself to play a genre that nobody wants to, that may be popular, but you don't actually resonate with. So make sure you're playing a game that you enjoy. And what you will see is that over time, even though it took you so long to get affiliate, that's okay. You still got affiliate. You still organically grew. And I mean, I don't know for sure, but I'd be willing to bet that the few people that helped you get affiliate are still around your channel today. Is that right?
Yeah, for sure. Like they're definitely there. Like 100%. Like my number one mod is always there every time I go live. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing. I feel like I need like a plaque above my desk that just says like just have fun and worry
Right.
about nothing else. You know what I mean?
Well, it's a headspace. Like, first of all, you're not alone at all, right? And the
And that's
second
the
thing
big
is,
thing. Like that's the big thing. Like I like you to know that you're not alone.
Right.
Like that
yeah,
everyone is going through it. Like that's the best thing for for all the smaller streamers out there, is to know that you're not the only one going through it.
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. And I think that's why sub communities like TRUgaming, for example, you're starting to see them a little more and more. And I think that that's why companies like that are inherently geared towards affiliates and people who are just up and coming, right? I think that's infinitely important, because without that and only having top tier orgs, affiliates and entry level streamers are going to feel completely ostracized. They're going to feel like they have no place, they don't belong, nobody else is like me. How do I vent this? You get on Twitter, but your Twitter's empty. You know what I mean? Like, so you feel completely alone. That couldn't be further from the case, man. Like, we've all been there. I still deal with it to this day, and I've been here forever. Like, you have to like just realize that and talk to people. Like, you know, you'll find that what I've done historically is if I feel bad about playing a game, I'm honest with my community, and I'll say, "Hey guys, you know, I wanted to play this game, but I'm kind of feel like this." And they'll tell you exactly what to do. Oh man, you know, like, why don't you play this? We'd love to see you do this. Or like, oh, we understand. Or, you know, like, why don't you just play the game and we'll just talk about something. And that's the way I've dealt with it, is that I would come up with random topics to entertain myself. And I found that just by relaxing and treating my community like they're my friends, I've been able to change my mood on something I wasn't initially going to appreciate. And what happened was anybody that was browsing around that happened to stumble across my channel found me being totally organic in a completely private sphere, right? But absolutely loved it, and they stayed, and they're part of the community now. So, you know, that's what I would do. Don't be afraid to ever reach out. There's plenty of people that are very similar to that. You know, one of the things about Twitch is that it is a very loving community. A lot of people, if you ever get to a point where you start going to conventions and whatnot, you'll see that a lot of people everyone's hugging each other, everyone's talking to each other. Like, everyone everyone cares. You know, it's a very caring community, and a lot of folks have a lot of things in common. You know, you think of what it takes to stream to begin with. A lot of people do it because of social anxiety, right? So you're definitely not alone, but don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to be yourself. You know, just talk to people.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
I love that.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
One thing I'll add quickly on there too is I really like to compare. This might sound kind of weird, but I like to compare streaming to fitness and working out in a lot of ways, because there's a lot of similarities. So, like Arctic said, there are reasons to not stream if you have a legitimate reason. So in the same way as working out, right? If you're sick, don't work out, don't stream. If you're gonna hurt yourself some way, don't do that. But a lot of times it's more of like you don't really have a good reason as much as you're just not feeling it or something. And one of my favorite quotes is, the days that you don't want to do it the most are the days that you need to do it the most. So that really helps me a lot of times, you know, whether it's streaming or working out or whatever. If you don't want to do it, it's probably a sign that you should do it if you don't have an actual reason. And then like Vel said, like those can end up being the biggest days for you when you push through that mental barrier and just make yourself challenge yourself. So that's what I would say. Vel, do you have any other thoughts or questions?
The only thing I'll mention is that when I was watching the stream before, I did see the little I don't know what you would call it, like the news thing along the bottom of your screen you've got going on there. That Velok runs a sweatshop full of designers. God. I did see that, and I wanted to mention that I did see it, and I'm questioning the legitimacy of Velok's stream now. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, so there will be no comments made at this time. I'm still talking to my manager about this.
Lawyers.
We need PR. We need damage control. Damage control.
Hey, don't feel bad, man. Dr. Lupp is around here somewhere.
Yeah, I saw that as well. I didn't want to mention that one as well. But, all right, guys, thank you very much. You guys have answered my question. I really appreciate it. And hey,
no problem.
You do a sweet podcast, and
thank you,
I
man.
love hearing it every week. So
thanks for supporting
good job,
the show.
guys.
And
thanks for having me on,
man.
Cool, man. We'll
Thank
talk to you later.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome stuff. That was great. I love having that video too. It adds a lot more to the call. People do that.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that the people on Spotify or you know, anything like that, they're not getting the full effect. So
yeah, guys, tune in to Twitch or YouTube and watch for you listeners. Like 90% of people listen to the show instead of watching it. So interesting.
They probably hear me
there.
like just chuckling every once in a while, and they don't even realize I'm getting trolled in chat like the entire time we're on this podcast.
It's like the guy just laughs for no reason.
Yeah.
Is he okay?
All right. Well, we have a caller who I know is good, who's been on here multiple times before, and that's British Avenger. So I will get him ready to come onto the show in place to maybe save the show a bit here. He might not be ready because he just joined, but British, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Hey.
I'm alright. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Hey,
Thanks
what's
for
up,
calling
man?
in.
No problem. My question is kind of linked to like the past questions. So at the moment, I only stream and pretty much play Rainbow Six Siege, and I like it, but it just gets to me with a point where I get very salty at because it's broken and I kind of hate it. But I have tried other games and like I've tried them off stream and like of course like maybe like it will work with my like PC setup and that, and it just hasn't planned out. So like I want to know, should I either try to find a way to have fun with the game or just keep searching for another game I could do on stream?
Hmm. So you're feeling kind of burnt out of the game and trying to figure out where to go from here, basically.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I'll shoot this one over to Vel first, since you've been playing a lot of Siege yourself lately.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on burnout with games?
So I think Arctix was touching on this a little bit earlier about how like you're perceived by your viewers. If you are getting mad at a game and you're not trying to be like that toxic, salty, like just ridiculous streamer, play something that you enjoy, because like even if you are having fun at that time, like if you aren't like expressing fun like out loud, like they're gonna think that you're just mad. You know what I mean? Like if you're having fun with a game you get salty at that time, you're probably still not gonna get like that excited about it. You know what I mean? It's still gonna be like a game that you're just like, oh well, going through the grind of this game. Hopefully it doesn't suck in the future. So play a game that makes you happy. Don't worry about that game. I've had to break away from Counter-Strike a couple times because of that reason. Like after a while, like I'm like, oh, I can get back into that game. Like I'm not gonna get as salty as I used to, and then I get back into Counter-Strike, and then I'm over here smashing on my desk and kicking stuff over, and I'm like, why am I here right now? So just play something that's fun, man. And like I understand, because like you play with me and like a few other our friends and everything, like we all like to play Siege, but don't stress about it too much. Like don't let it affect your life so negatively that like you just can't handle playing the game anymore. Don't let something ruin having fun for you. It's not worth it.
Good points there. Arctix, what are your thoughts on this?
It goes in tandem with what Velok said. Like if you're finding that you're getting just absolutely frustrated with it, maybe try and take a break. Find another game that you may resonate with, or that you know for sure that you enjoy. And a lot of times, like even when you play other games, you find that you almost come back to the game that you're frustrated with a point of clarity. So like, and one of the best examples I can give you is I guess it's not recent anymore. It's hard for me to say that. I've been around so long, so nothing's recent. So like, at one point, rather, I played through the Dark Souls franchise, and like for my first time, and of course, that game is inherently notorious. And what I found out that I had to do is like I had to like
You cut out with your mic for a sec there.
It sounded like your mic was farting.
Yeah,
I thought it turned into a bumblebee.
Straw or something.
Oh really? Hello?
Yeah, you're good now.
What happened is that like I had to force myself to play something else. To just like focus entirely on something else so that I could almost decompress, so that I can come back at it with a clear mind. And you don't always know that you should do that. That's probably one of the harder things to realize. So like if you feel super, super frustrated, don't be afraid to take a break. But whatever you do, don't force yourself to do it. Just because you think that, it might be important to your stream or your community. Like do it, try and be again, it goes back to the very basic thing. Like is the more honest you are with yourself, the more honest people will read you. Like they can tell, just like your pets. They can tell. They always know. So yeah, I would try and handle it that way.
Yeah, absolutely good points. Kind of goes back to the last question too, right? Of knowing whether you should just push through something that's hard, or if actually it's going to be damaging for you in the long term. Those are very different things. MPI, what would you say to British Avenger here?
I think if you're getting frustrated with a point in a game where it's affecting your stream, it's affecting you, or if you're, slamming things on your desk, things like that, take a break from it, either during that stream and come back to it maybe the next day, or maybe try out another game for a little while. I don't think there's, again, anything ever wrong with trying new games on your stream, even if it's maybe not something that you normally play. because if nothing else, you're opening yourself up to a whole new audience of people. I know I like first person shooters, but I don't typically go on Twitch and watch a lot of them because, people get upset or people rage at it and it's not as fun for me. And then you open up and try maybe an RPG and you have a lot of new people that want to come in and check it out. So I think if it's that frustrating to you that it's kind of ruining streaming for you, it's not bad to step out and try new games. If you try something new and it doesn't work, hey, it doesn't work and you can move back to Siege, or you can even maybe make Siege 1 or 2 nights a week and the other few days play something else. I used to play Dead by Daylight 5 days a week, and as much as I love that game, I can't play it all the time. There's other games I want to play. So now we're looking at, maybe 1 night a week we're going to get community together and play Dead by Daylight, and that's the only time that it gets played. So maybe that's something you could look at with Siege, is maybe make it a 1 or 2 nights a week kind of thing and try some other stuff for a little while. Or again, if it's that night and you're so frustrated that like you're just ready to throw your computer out the window and quit, either in the stream, which isn't a bad thing, ending early. We just talked about it earlier. That's fine to do if you need to that day, or maybe try a different game. There's a lot of more, I guess, chill, calm games out there that are really good to move to during those times. Like I said, I recently played Breath of the Wild, and there were a lot of times where I was frustrated with it and I wanted to stop, and we would stop and play like Pokemon Let's Go. There's much less pressure in that game, and I don't think that's a bad thing at all. If it's going to ruin the stream for you to move to something else that night, or just call it early.
Absolutely. Cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Avenger, you have any other follow-up questions or thoughts on that?
I mean, if I don't get like angry with the point where I want to punch a monitor or break my desk, but I think to like see how anger I would get, it would be probably on the same level as Val does when he has a bad day. Like, it gets salty, but it's not to a point where I don't want damage anything.
Well, if you're having that bad of a time, like, it's pretty rare that I have like a really bad day on stream, and I usually try to end those early just because I'm not about putting out subpar content, and as far as like how I think I should be putting out content. So if you think that you're putting on like a bad stream, like that's a whole different story than just being mad. You know what I mean? Like that's like if you think that you can't like enjoy the game, like if you're having like a quote unquote bad stream, then you probably should stream a different game.
One of the best practices that I found dealing with something like this is try and play the game off stream. Like, force yourself to just play it casually, see if you can get in a couple matches, because it's Siege, so you can play online with a bunch of different people, and see if you're equally frustrated with the game. If you find that you're able to enjoy it a little bit more, then the problem is inherently balancing between streaming and playing the game, or maybe feeling like you have to play at a certain level because people are watching. You could try to do that offline. I found that that's a good practice that's helped me take care of a lot of different games that I've maybe plateaued on or stomped on, because I've definitely gotten to those rage-inducing moments and boomerang the controller or two. That's happened.
It happens.
Yeah.
Cool. British, any other follow-up questions or anything?
No, thanks for the help.
Yeah, man.
Hey, no problem.
Good question.
No problem. So yeah.
See ya.
Toodles.
Always good stuff from British Avenger. It's already 12:30. We have about half an hour left, guys. If you want to get on the show, we have a lot of questions and a lot of callers this week. So we actually have another caller on deck who's Meemaw. If you want to get your question or call answered, now is the time to do so. Just make sure we have time before the show is up. So I want to let you know that. I'm going to go ahead and add Meemaw to the call now, who has been on a couple times, and she is a true partner. Do I not have her added as a friend? I just assumed that I did. Let me double check. Maybe I don't. No, I didn't. That is surprising. All right. So we will now add Meemaw to the call as soon as she accepts my friend request.
Breaking news: Green and Mima not
Oh,
friends.
There we go. Got it. Well, we've had on the show before, so I just thought we had. But
it is Mima. That's so weird.
yeah,
That's what I called my great grandmother.
Mima, are you there? Oh, there she is.
TRUGaming.
How's it going?
Hi.
You there?
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How are you?
Hello, TRUfam.
Hi. What's up?
First, TGI frickin' frackin' F.
Definitely agree. What do you want to talk
All
about
right.
in the show today?
Well, with the rise of stream coaching and coaching for this and coaching for that, and you can get emotes made by artists and like MPI was doing, making overlays for his friend. Where is the audio coaching? I need help with my audio. Is there a service? If not, let's get it going.
So your question is, where do you go to improve your audio?
Yeah, like you can go on Amazon. We love the Amazons. And you can buy your super duper mic and your spit protector or whatever it's called.
Is this right here?
and you buy all your goodies and you hook them all up and you can still sound like a big old bucket of crap.
Absolutely.
So where
true.
are the coaches for that?
That's a good question. I think we'll transition this into like, where do you go to just learn how to improve your audio? Which is a good question for you guys. Arctics, what are your thoughts on improving audio?
I mean, it's extremely important. It's something that I've inherently learned because from doing this for so long, I've always gotten the comment like, "Oh, dude, you have a radio voice. You should totally do radio." Like, "Oh, please do radio." Like, okay, can you say the theater guy thing? I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like, come on, the movie trailer guy, do the thing. And I'm like, "Oh, are you serious?" Like in the middle of the premiere that I was telling you guys about, like people were spamming, so I was like, "In a world, one man." Like it's like you get used to doing it, like so it's extremely important. I mean, you're right. You can buy all the stuff in the world and not have it set up right. Like I thought I had a really good handle on it, and I think I do. I pretty much really understand the way I have my setup is. But even though I got to a point where I sounded okay and I thought it was set up, I found out that one of my most important pieces of technology wasn't even hooked up right at all. Like I wasn't even utilizing
Yeah,
it.
and then
Right. And the only way you found out, the only way I found out is because I ran it by somebody who I knew about like the camera stuff, Johnny Fishsticks in the chat. But he was like, "What are you doing?" Like I had no idea. So when I set it up, I found that what I was trying to accomplish by doing a bunch of other things, I was able to accomplish using the hardware that I have. So I think over time, you kind of a good way to find out what you need is by looking at the similarities between other broadcaster setups. A lot of people have like what they're using listed. And once you get it, you can look up YouTube videos on how to do it. There are all kinds of different ways like, oh, hey, what works here? Testing with your own audio. As far as like a specific audio coach, I don't know that there are many of those available.
we need to get them. I'm a grandma already.
Well-
I ain't got time for YouTube videos.
I feel like the difference with audio though is that it's not usually the type of thing that you need to continuously improve on and reassess. Like once you've got it, it's kind of good, and you can make variations and upgrades. But that's the difference between like stream coaching for a brand purpose and then specifically like you could do audio consulting. Maybe have someone sit down
There
with
we
you and
go. We
figure
need
out what you
consultants.
need and set stuff up. But I don't think it's like a reoccurring type of thing. And I know MPI has worked a lot with audio and video setup stuff in the past. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it comes from just learning about the products that you're looking at. Not everyone is going to have the same mixer. Not everyone has the same microphone. Not everyone has the same budget.
And voice, by the way.
And voice, yeah, too. Everyone's voice carries differently. Everyone projects a little bit differently.
Yeah, I need to work on my projecting.
You're projecting.
think
That's
pretty
actually
loud, I
really
think.
important.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the most common things is people don't project right. Like they get
What do you mean they
And
don't
that's what a
project
lot of
like
people won't look at.
Huh?
They won't they won't look at how they're talking. They'll sit at their microphone, they'll mumble, they'll talk like this, and they'll go, "My microphone's broken." No, it's not just your equipment. You have to work on it as well. And I think Green's right. I don't know that it would necessarily be a coach. It would maybe be a consultant, and that could be anyone else that streams. That could just be a friend who streams and knows a lot about audio. You could just ask them, "Hey, can you help me with this?" Or if you wanted to learn even more about it, YouTube videos are great. There's a lot of material out there that you can read and start. I think it's good to start simple and work your way up.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't buy a $500 mixer, a $200 microphone, and all this stuff, and then look at it and go, "I don't know what this does." It's just like any other thing. Yeah,
I know. Well, let's throw money at it.
You have to learn the basics and kind of work your way up.
A lot of folks don't even realize that a lot of the mainstream streamers who do this with a studio setup, we actually hear our own voice through the headphones with zero delay.
Talk back,
right?
Yep.
A lot of people don't know that, right? So one of the interesting things I found out is that when I would have a streamer who was just learning how to do it, get them set up on the equipment, the first time they heard themselves, they were like they could not talk and hear themselves at the same time. And
it's so weird.
I can't do it.
If there's only the slightest delay, you are done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You straight up marbles.
That's the thing,
no way
though.
it's gonna work.
Talkback, if you guys know what that is, that's where you hear yourself talking in your headphones as you're talking. I think that's huge personally. And a lot of people hate it because they hate the sound of their own voice. But as a streamer, you have to get used to that, I think. Just hearing your own voice and being confident and comfortable in it. And I think it really can help you improve the way you speak once you hear yourself talking as you're doing it. Because if you can't understand yourself, then no one else can understand you either. So I know personally it's helped me a lot.
It also helps you project because if you can hear that you're not talking like that. And if you hear the sound of your voice, you know that maybe if you're going off on a tangent or if you're peaking too loud by screaming, a lot of folks who are using a headset mic, if that's not their image, because there are streamers who are famous for using those, right? If you're trying to talk and maybe you're raging a little bit, you don't realize you sound like a crumbled paper, right? So you don't want that to be the case. So it's one of those things that isn't really talked about a whole lot, but infinitely important. I mean, the best metaphor is to consider yourself like a video radio DJ from a channel, right? Because that's essentially what you're doing. You're playing a game and you're explaining and commentating on your own experience of the game as somebody that's you're listening to 105.5 The Jazz. You know what I mean? It's very similar because you're like, "Hey guys, welcome back to insert channel." It's very similar. So once you get of that mindset, you'll find that the speaking, social anxiety of talking to your chat, the awkwardness, hearing your own voice, all of that stuff starts to culminate to who you are as a broadcaster. And that's what people inherently fall in love with, if they're part of your community.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, you have any follow-up thoughts or questions to add?
Nope. I just want to. I see a business opportunity there. Audio consultants for streamers who are getting closer to dying, and we need help.
Oh man,
that specific market, huh? It's very niche.
Yeah.
That's right. You got to find your niche.
It's like Life Alert for audiophiles.
No, I agree. It's actually a pretty cool idea, and I think there could be more specialists out there for that with stream coaching. Pretty cool.
Mima, let's talk.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks for calling in. Appreciate it. Oh my goodness. Always a good there we go. Always a good time with Meemaw. Gotta love that.
Oh god.
All right, we have about 15 minutes or so left in the show. We have a lot of topics to get through, so I'm gonna go through some of these while we have time here. Okay. I think the first one we had was from actually we have a lot, man. It's hard to choose which ones to use because there's so many good ones.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I talk too much. I know I do.
It's better having more questions than too few, Okay. So I guess I'll start with this one, which is actually from Sestriuto, who said, ask the panel their thoughts on solo streaming with friends versus multi-streaming with friends /spouse For example, Vel sometimes has a Snoop join his R6 game and audio chat, versus Ninja and Dr. Lupo and Tim will sometimes multi-stream. So I guess it's sort of like a combination question of either you're like streaming with a friend in audio or streaming with a couple people. How do you kind of balance that and keep attention with your chat while also being interactive with the other people that you're playing or streaming with? Vel, since this was kind of directed at you, what would you say?
Okay. So I do push to talk a lot, or push to mute, whichever one you prefer. And I vary between the two, depending based on how the conversations between me and the other streamer are going, because you obviously don't want the other streamer to hear you talking to your chat, and you want to make sure you're keeping conversations going at the same time. Like, you don't want to be completely silent to where there's no conversations going between the two streamers, because why are you guys streaming together? So I don't know. It's just you got to get to know somebody a little bit. Like, you can't just like go into a stream with another person and have it instantly just kick off. I mean, you can. That's a pretty rare thing, but just going into it with friends, I think, is a big deal, because you already have that kind of connection with that person, and you already have some sort of like, you'll be able to like give each other shit or whatever. Like, you'll be able to like talk crap and keep things interesting, and then also still make sure to be paying attention to your chat, because that's ultimately what you're doing, is streaming for people's entertainment. So it's a lot of multitasking, for sure. It's a lot of keeping conversations going, responding to chat, and focusing on gameplay, and all trying to do that in a very confident and like unconfused manner, hopefully.
Right.
Mhm.
Trying to make it sensible.
Right.
MPI, what are your thoughts on this?
I agree. It's better to go into it with friends who you're already friends with, or who you already game with, because you're comfortable with that person. Bringing in immediately someone from chat who you've maybe never played a game with, or never even spoken to physically other than through text, can be so difficult, because you don't know how the banter's going to go. You don't know how much they're going to talk, how little they're going to talk. We do it once a week. Every Monday, my best friend and I get together and just play games for fun. And a lot of times he will actually interact with my chat with me. And he's kind of a staple in our community. Like I say, I mean, he's my best friend since forever. He's the best man at my wedding, so he's obviously going to be part of this. And a lot of times we almost kind of duo stream that day for a couple of hours. I don't know that works for everyone, and I don't think that's what necessarily everyone should do, but it works pretty well for us. But the main thing is definitely go in with someone you're already comfortable talking with and having a good banter with. And I think the option to push to mute in Discord is good, and being able to mute yourself with them and also mute them to the stream is good, because if you're trying to talk to chat and they're trying to say something to you, you're trying to talk over them. So I think it takes a lot of coordinating and a lot of setting up. But once it's set up and you've done it a few times, it can be a lot of fun, and a lot of people can enjoy it.
Right. Absolutely. Arctic, do you have any experience with this?
Yeah. Before I get into the most important one, there's an amazing program out there, and I have to think of what it's called, but it's basically Ninja uses it. All the guys use it.
Banana?
It's
Voice meter?
No, not voice meter. I mean, that is a very popular one, but that's not what I was talking about. There's a button, a program that you can push, and it'll immediately mute Discord, right? And it mutes not just Discord, but it'll mute any type of VoIP that you have going on aside from your actual stream. So if you do need, let's say somebody subscribes and you need to address your chat for something, you can hit that button without having to worry about whether you're talking in Discord or not in the other person's stream. You just hit that button, and anything related to that VoIP is completely just muted through the duration of you holding that button, so that you can, engage your audience. And it's a super, super important program. The other thing is when you're streaming with, I guess, friends versus other broadcasters, if it's other broadcasters, I cannot stress enough how absolutely important it is to remind everybody that if you have Twitch Prime, you get a free subscription for up to 30 days with no obligation. It's very important to mention those things, right? So, it's important to just, be mindful of other people's communities. You don't want to sit there. I mean, the most obnoxious thing that people may not directly say is you're sitting there getting ready to play. You're trying to talk to your community, and you hear your buddy in the background like, "Hey, what's up, Velok? How's it going, man? I haven't seen you in a while." And you're like,
oh my
dude,
gosh.
You know what I mean? Like, bruh.
Yeah.
Stop,
Oh my
you know,
gosh.
like,
This is such
but
like
it
a
happens so often, right?
Mhm.
So like it's important to try and be conscientious of who you're streaming with if they are streaming, and then if they're not, then the other end of that is make sure that you're gating what your community is being exposed to over there, because let's say, which I've had the unfortunate pleasure of experiencing this multiple times, but if you happen to have somebody who has a PG stream and you're not a PG guy and you happen to die and you just lose your mind, and and his community is like, like, oh my
Yeah.
God, like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's important to try and gate that as much as you can on both sides of the spectrum.
Right. Yeah, there's so many things to unpack with this topic. I mean, that last point you mentioned, it's important to have people that you're playing with and stream with that are not going to conflict with your values as a streamer. Like you said, you can't be, trying to support this PG atmosphere if you're playing with these guys who have these awful mouths, because that's not going to flow so well with your community. But there's just so much to look at. I mean, with streamers in particular, I think if you're playing with other streamers, you eventually can find a really good group. Probably it's just very hard to do. Like, you'll see when you watch Tim, Ninja, and Lupo stream, there's kind of like a magic there with some of the ways they interact. But that was sort of, very intentional. I'm sure they communicate a lot on, okay, I might go mute sometimes, I might back off. They know when to kind of, okay, he's doing something, I'll give him some space, and now we're back in the game, we can talk again. There's just something there that only streamers can know once you've been in it in a while, and that's hard to find. But if you can find it, that's really good. On the friend side of things, there are also some really good examples of, so for example, I watched like Shroud and Asmongold recently have some really good friends who don't stream, but they're really good supporters of the stream because they know how to backseat, like stay in the back, I should say, not backseat, because some friends will kind of take over your stream for you and like interact with the chat and talk to the chat when it's your stream, and you don't want that. But some friends will be really good at kind of filling blank space in your stream. Like if you have to get up and do something, they'll take over and kind of entertain chat for a second. Or they'll give you content to work on if you miss something in chat that's really important. Or, there's a lot of good ways that people can make you more entertaining without taking over your stream. So I think finding people like that is really hard, but it really adds a lot to your stream later on.
Yeah, you're talking about specifically McConnell with Asmongold. McConnell made him like over $10,000 promoting Twitch Prime.
Exactly.
One time.
That's
Like,
what
it's
I'm
ridiculous.
Yep.
Like, he was there was a dead space, and he's like, "Hey, I'd really like to tell everybody about Twitch Prime," and he would scream it in there, and you would just see spam for about 5 minutes. It's ridiculous, but it's important to have those things.
Yeah, and again, I stress that those are really hard to find because, like, I know I have friends who just have no sense of giving the stream space, and like they can't comprehend the idea of you talking to a chat and them at the same time, and then like they'll just kind of ask you questions while you're trying to talk to the chat, and so it's tough to find that balance. And streamers too. Some streamers just take over and don't push to mute, and it's a disaster, and people can't understand what's happening. So that stuff takes time and lots of communication, but it can work out eventually. But good question. Thanks for that, Sestrioto. We'll maybe do like one or two more questions here. I saw one from Roy O Radio who said, I often get viewers in my stream who stop by and say hello and then leave because I saw their message too late. Any practices you can recommend to not miss the messages, a possible notification feature? So I'm sure we all feel this, if chat's really moving one day and you just can't get to everybody in time before they leave, it kind of feels bad for that person to just not really see you respond. Throw this to MPI first. What would you say for that person?
I think if your chat is just moving so fast that maybe you're not able to keep up with some of them, it would be good to have it so your mods will also say hello to people. I know every time somebody stops in my stream, especially someone new, one of the mods will like at such and such, hey, how's it going today? Or welcome to the stream, things like that, so that they're acknowledged by someone in chat. And if they see the mod sword, that kind of almost gives the connection to you because your mods are an extension of you in your chat. And that kind of gives you the chance too that you'll see the @ tag pop up, and that might catch your eye over something else just like chat moving. You'll catch it and then you'll see, oh, new name. Hey, how's it going? Welcome. Sorry, it took me a second to get to your message, but what's up? Welcome to the stream. I think having a good community, especially with your mods that can also say hello to people and welcome them, is a huge, huge help. It could also be moving your chat maybe just a little bit closer. You can pop out your chat window and move it anywhere on your second monitor if that's how you have it set up. Maybe pull it closer to where you catch it out of the corner of your eye a little bit more. Maybe that could help catch some new names.
Yeah,
I think the mods are a huge thing.
Absolutely. I mean, I see that on a lot of streams, and that can definitely make a good impression for you, especially when you're smaller. And Vel, I know this happens in your stream a lot with your mods, but I'm curious. Like, my follow-up question to that would be: is that really scalable to some level when you keep bringing in more and more people? And to me, it seems like it's just not feasible at some point for your mods to respond to every person who comes in. So what would you say to that?
I think if you're getting to the point where you can't
trying to solve it to Vel, but
sorry,
my bad.
There was a pause and I thought you were like following up to my question.
Sorry, yeah, maybe not the best communication. Just to kind of like move through the panel here, Vel, what are your thoughts on, do you think that's sustainable? Do you think there's ways to kind of change as the stream grows?
I mean, when the stream gets bigger, it's definitely more difficult for people to notice the newer viewers if they say like hey or hi or whatever. Like, if they only say the one thing and then they don't wait long enough, like for you to like catch it or whatever, or if it goes by like way too fast, like there isn't really too much you can do. The best thing you can do is just try to talk to chat as much as possible. Like, you got to remember that you are like trying to entertain people, not just play video games. So at any scale, try to like obviously like Tim the Tatman or anybody probably isn't looking at their chat too much, but just try to keep an eye on chat as much as possible, and just remember that you are trying to entertain people, and you should try to engage those people in conversations and everything. So but I do think it can get to a point to where like there's just not too much that you can do, and that's just the negative side of being a larger streamer.
Nature of the beast, for sure.
Yeah.
Artix, what are your thoughts on this?
This is it's extremely, extremely important. Community engagement is what's going to make or break whether or not somebody browsing your channel is going to stay. If they feel like, hey, they're chatting, or maybe your chat's moving and you're just like completely like zoned in on whatever the hell you're doing, you're not even looking at your chat, they're going to feel useless. Like if you have a notification or anything. There are systems to help with this, though. You could touch on the mods, as I wrote in chat, that mods are like the nervous system of any Twitch channel. Like, mods are so important for this type of thing, and unfortunately it doesn't scale in tandem with with your growth if you get a whole bunch of people in the channel. But there are larger streamers that find a way to do this, and there are tools that they use that help with that. For example, one of the best ones is Chatty. Chatty is free. Chatty runs within JavaScript. And what Chatty does is if you can set it up to do it, but it's very easy to use. If you get a mention, just like on Chrome, it'll pop out a tab with all your mentions. So you can go back and you can address them, or you can set keywords or key emotes. For example, Co-Carnage, if anybody's ever watched a stream at the beginning, he'll go through before he starts a stream, and he just goes through about 300 names. Good show, like good show, like, because what they're doing is anytime they use the hi emote, which is his wavy emote, it sticks them in something called a hello queue, and he goes through each one of them, addressing them and saying hello. So he doesn't miss anything because the program catches it if it has a certain whatever metric you set it for it to catch. It could be a tag or it can be the hi emote. But ignoring your chat or being too busy to address your chat, that's the part of organically learning how to stream that you really have to nail down, because again, chat engagement is absolutely crucial to the sustenance and the longevity of your stream.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think
something.
Go ahead.
We actually made something a while ago in my stream. Whenever I would play more competitive games, it's just a quick command, and it pops up and it says like, hey, just so you know, MPI is really focused on the game right now. He'll be back to chat in just a second, so don't feel like you're being ignored, basically. And that's not something that should be used every second of every stream. But if you're in like the hardest boss fight of the game, like the final one before credits, and you're last sliver of health, you're not gonna look over to chat and catch a hi. So having that as well. Someone comes in and says hi for the first time, and somebody can just do exclamation point focus. It pops the command. They get a longer message of, hey, he's not ignoring you. We promise. He's just very focused right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something else that could be one more tool to kind of help as well. If you have that, plus I think you said it was called Chatty, where they get that hello queue. You see that command go off, you go check that queue of people to say hello to. That's like a perfect way to kind of set that up.
Absolutely. Cool. Yeah, I mean, that's always gonna be a struggle, especially as you grow. And I think there are some times on your stream, if you're really focused, like you said, where it's okay to be, paying attention to your game for a second, and chat will understand that usually. And that's the one thing I want to mention too. Sometimes you get people who, I mean, they're there for a second, and if you don't respond in a second, they're gone. And there's nothing you can realistically do about that. So don't beat yourself up if you miss a few people.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah, Twitch
you
happens.
want them anyways.
Absolutely.
And, they probably weren't going to stick around no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, don't waste your time.
Yep, that's how it goes. Even people that you respond to instantly won't respond. So
yeah, and there's a good chance they just wanted you to like say their name on the stream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and that was the whole thing.
And they're out.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, I think that's going to be the last question for today, guys. So thank you for coming and watching the show. Let's do kind of a little round off here of everybody signing off. Arctics, I'll throw it to you first since you're the main guest here, being here for the first time. Anything you want to plug or share before we sign off?
You guys, if you want to go ahead and follow me for any up-to-date information on the stream, my Twitter handle is @ArcticsTV. It's not Arctics. A lot of people make that mistake. I'm not a pirate. It's Arctics TV. I'm coming back to Twitch within the next 2 weeks ish. I've been off since about September because of that car accident, and then just inherently refitting the stream, learning how to design all kinds of 3D elements and whatnot for the stream. So if I were going to promote anything, I've just become the brand ambassador for these guys, the hat that I'm wearing. It's a new company that you guys are going to see floating around Twitch. They're just now getting into the influencer content creating sphere. The name of the brand is Findlay Hats. Findlay, Lay. And this whole thing is patented, like the lace thing, the little clip design, and then there's a pocket on the inside. But what they're going to offer streamers is, just like Designed by Humans, where you can have your own line of clothing, you can design your own hats and run it through them. So I'm working with them at creating that whole influencer program, and we're going to introduce that to everybody else. But yeah, I'll be on Twitch hopefully back within the next 2 weeks. Streaming again full time. So I look forward to that.
Cool, man. Thank you for coming on the show. Really good insight as always. MPI, Mr. Pure Instinct as well. Anything you want to share or plug before we head off?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I was literally going to ask you about that hat whenever we got off stream because it looks super cool and I was curious about it. So I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys can find me everywhere. It's just Mr. Pure Instinct. Do a lot of story-based games, and we have a lot of discussions around mental health. So if you ever come in our chat and things are a little real talk, it happens. But it's definitely a safe place for you to come and talk about those things if you need to. I know right now we're actually raising money for a charity for the rest of the month. So if that's something you guys are interested in, feel free to come by and I'll tell you all about it. Yeah, I stream 4 days a week now. We take Fridays off, Monday through Thursday, 12 to 5 p.m. is the current schedule. We're messing with creative streams, just trying to find new, interesting things to do on Twitch. So it'll probably be different for a little while if you come by, but we have fun.
Nice. Sweet, man. And last but not least is Veloc TV here. What do you want to say, man?
Thank you, everybody, for coming out and asking all these questions. We got a lot of really good questions today. One not so great question. And but I really appreciate you guys coming out. Getting like all these great questions is so much fun. We really do like helping people out, and that's why Green Cord started up StreamKey in the first place, because he really likes helping streamers with growing and any issues that you guys are having. We've all been there, and just really appreciate you guys coming out and supporting.
Awesome stuff. Make sure you guys go check all of them out, Arctics, MPI, and Veli on Twitch. Again, this has been StreamKey. We do this every single week here on Fridays and have your calls and questions. It's also on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, everything else. If you want to check it out, just look for StreamKey. We'll be back next week, guys, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend or so. Thanks for watching. Frosty. We will see you later. Stay frosty. Blaze up. There you go. Blaze up.
Oh, blaze up. Blaze up.
Stay frosty and blaze up. See you guys later.
Wait. It's